Hey, Ronnie here. Shall we make a game? And why is it looking at that window? One second. Let me just close that window. There we go. I just looked for the first window it saw you saying Blender and just went with that one, I guess. So today, yesterday I started this texture. It looks awful and I want to fix it. Let me grab GIMP here and we can have a look at what it's meant to look like. It's meant to look like this kind of salami salami carpet. And if we can get that looking good, after that, I want to start making some of these handrails. Have a bit of a think about that. In the meantime, however, I'm going to start out by making a bit of a weird change, but I swear it will make sense. I am actually going to cut these in half. Oops. Let me just remove doubles. There we go. Now I can cut them in half. And I'm actually going to, because at the moment this texture actually contains 2 repeats of it. So I'm actually just going to cut this down to just half. As it's kind of meant to look repetitive, you know? How big is this? Hang on, let me get rid of the color picker thing. It is 48 by 32, so we want a 48 by 16 slice. Yep, good. I think I'm going to align it slightly differently to that, because I want to get this whole kind of pattern in it. Yeah, that's good. That'll do. Crop to there. Save. Reload. That will mess up our texture quite considerably, but we can fix it. Just need to grab this entire stack, move it over this entire stack, and then grab all these vertices and drag them down. And there we go. Done. I just made the tiling more obvious, but that just gives me more incentive to improve it, I guess. Morning. I'm doing okay, thanks. You're right. So yeah, we have got some tiling kind of artifacts because I took something that was originally 2 tiles and I basically just truncated it, but we can fix that. The first thing I was actually thinking about doing is like these two palettes have ended up kind of similar. So I'm going to go back to the original carpet texture and I'm going to merge them back down. So I'm going to just replace tool. There might be a quick way of doing this. I don't know if there is. Final Fantasy 11. Hey, morning, how's it going? But Final Fantasy 11, that's is that one of the older? Is it 11 or 12 that's a MMO? Kind of the predecessor to 14. I always mix them up because I know there's a single player. Oh, the MMO. Because I think is it 12 the one that's actually built like an MMO but isn't actually one? I'm going to paint this kind of yellowish. Just yeah, I thought so. Has some infamy. So I'm actually just going to see if I think like this kind of like color is largely coming from the light on it. Well, so this is still not a very good texture. Okay, maybe we just need a bit more kind of like noise and detail and stuff, because this is a very kind of noisy texture. It's kind of hard to tell what this is actually supposed to look like. So I guess I'll just start mixing this up a bit, mashing it up. Where's the... I've got a jumble tool. Use it to kind of like texture this in a bit more. That looks terrible. What have I done that for? Yep, that looks worse. Nope, nope, nope. This is one of these textures that's going to be like really difficult to get right. It's like a smudge tool in this. What's this? Contour tool? What's a contour tool do? Oh. That's just draw a shape and it fills it in. And we've got like a hard edge contour tool. Okay. So this is paint bucket. Not really sure how that looks like a paint bucket, but fine. I'm going for like a much smaller, more kind of focused, kind of fuzzing up. Okay, so what I might actually do is I might take this and scale it a bit differently. Just stretch it this way a bit. And then kind of move this in. Yeah, I think I just need to just really kind of, as much as I don't want to rework this entirely from scratch, I think that's basically what I need to do. Use this as kind of just like a template and just sort of draw something entirely new and fresh on top. What's this? What's this kind of like bulge here? Well, that shouldn't be there. And then there's a section kind of around there. I don't know what this was meant to be. There's nothing on there that really looks like that. But there's kind of like a, this kind of like bit that kind of like sticks out. So I'm going to try and replicate that. Man, I felt like waiting a few more hours to get it would help, but it really hasn't. So I think that probably has kind of like a sort of like a bumpy texture on it, kind of like this, right? Sort of. And then it's kind of like a big bump every once in a while, which kind of lines up with this kind of like gap here. So I've completely misaligned those. So kind of like that. Yeah, that looks terrible, but we'll work on it. Oh no. And I guess we're just going to sort of like chase another pattern along here. Probably make these very, very, very different shades when it comes to shading them. Yeah, I'm kind of doing my own thing here because like this texture is just not really clearly visible enough to really see what it looks like, and like my attempt at replicating it was a dismal failure. So sort of do my own thing that kind of vaguely looks like it from certain angles, I guess. Okay, that looks a bit weird at the moment, but let's see how it looks in context. Oh, it looks very weird in context. Maybe it'll look better if we tile it like a texture. No. Needs a bit more kind of sculpting on the other side, I think. So maybe kind of like make it sort of like arc inwards like this, and then that. Okay, I'm gonna do something similar on here. Kind of like arc inwards, then kind of follow back out. And let's just see how that pattern looks kind of in context. Okay, that pattern doesn't look bad. Let's put a bit more light on it and see how it looks a bit more kind of like a positive gradient. It's really darker than this corner. And I might subdivide it more so I can get a bit more kind of control over the gradient. I should really be keeping things to roughly a 1x1 meter grid anyway, just for kind of like, warping control. Okay. There we go. There we go. Now we can really kind of like, oops. Really start to sort of like really work some light into that. This edge here should be a bit dark because it's going to be in the shadow of a handrail. Ah, okay. Maybe the problem is just I didn't light it correctly. That's definitely possible. Or rather, maybe I didn't, cover up my terrible texture with enough enough lighting grunge. Okay, that instantly looks better. I'm going to like look over the top of that a bit. Yeah. So Yeah, I guess I'm gonna grab all these, put into shading mode, increase the radius on that, and just go to town a bit. It's gonna really kind of like, even though this in theory is probably quite a flat object, right? It's probably not gonna be like a lot of nooks and crannies for like grime to get into. It looks kind of weird if you just have like flat color, so I guess I'm gonna try and make it look like it has a relief. That's like sometimes a stitch on carpets, like they do kind of have like a bit of like a, you know, because they kind of like layer up stitch on top of a stitch. Maybe there should be a bit of relief to it, but I'm not sure. As long as it doesn't look like a shiny 3D object, it's probably fine. Let's have a look at how it looks in context. Oh, that's starting to look better. Still not a huge fan of it, but that's looking much better. And then I'm just going to do a bit of similar detailing on the red side of it. Nothing too complex, nothing too top, just a bit of kind of shadow where things meet. Okay, that'll do for now. I'm happy enough to leave that in for now. That still doesn't look great. Actually, I'm gonna make one more tweak to it. This line needs a bit of shadow on the inside. But that looks considerably better than when I found it this morning. Okay, on to the next disaster. Let's make some handrails. Let's have a look at that first. Yeah, that looks better. So we're going to click on a handrail along here. So quite often when you have like a handrail in a game like this, it's just like a flat texture, right? A bit of transparency on it. Probably going to do that here, but have like a cap on it because the player's going to be able to like grind along the top of it, and it'd be a bit weird if you could see that you were grinding along like a infinitely thin like piece of handrail. That'd be kind of strange. So have like a side piece that kind of looks like this, and then just like a thin kind of strip that like runs along the top. Looks like they actually had like a nice little bit of like shape to that. It's quite surprising. They would have had to model that. So thinking about how I'm going to carve this up into chunks, ideally about 1 meter across. It looks like we're going to have three gaps per section. So if I put this one back up again. Oh yeah, it's this one I wanted. Or actually, maybe this one. Yeah, this one will do. Let me just check. Is this a texture we're going to reuse in the other room? I think it is. Oh, great job picking like the one image with no handrail in it. I think we could get away with reusing that between the two rooms. It looks like they did model 2 different handrails, but they're similar enough that we can get away with it. Yeah, I think we can. And yeah, we're doing approximately 16 pixels per meter, so that should be good. So now I just need to kind of carve this pattern out. So if we have 3 gaps per tile, I need to figure out how to make this work. I mean, I could use, one of the nice things about not using hardware accelerated rendering is that I can use whatever texture sizes I want, so I don't really have to ascribe to any, well, norms. So if I have a texture, if I have like a column that's like 2 pixels wide, and then that one's going to be 4 wide. Oh, well, do you know that actually worked out? Nice. I thought it was going to be an awkward case where the number of pixels wouldn't like evenly kind of like divide by the number of columns, but it does. So I'll take that. Oh wait, it doesn't. These are 3 pixels wide, this is 4 pixels wide. Damn it. Well, I'll learn how to count and then let's have a look at this. Did it look spaced enough? I think we're going to add 2 extra pixels to this. And I have the choice of reducing or increasing them. Typically a handrail tends to be about 1 meter tall, so that actually fits nicely with our grid. Just scale this across. Now, I'll make the square as well, just so it's like, you know, we don't end up with... I think it's fine to have 2 textures with very slightly different pixel density right next to each other, but the pixel should always be pretty square. I'm going to have this as a TGA. Blender doesn't really support transparency, and TGA is temporarily also show it to PNG. Let's extrude this edge up. And is that square? That doesn't look square to me. No, that's square. It just doesn't look square for some reason. Dimension, handrails. I added a feature in the script to import the texture and like do all the material setup and stuff that was supposed to add it to this list, and it doesn't always seem to work. I haven't figured out why yet. I'm just gonna let the texture into here. I won't be able to tell you if I've got it upside down, but that's fine. I'm going to use the 3D cursor to put the corner. Sorry, 2D cursor, rotate it, scale it up like a lot. Overlap more. And I'll have to do some material tweaks as well, as I still haven't got around to fixing the material importer so that it actually makes transparent textures. Oh, that doesn't look right. Oh, no, it isn't. It was right before. No, hang on, no. There we go, that should be right. There we go. Let's just have a quick eyeball against this. The spacing's not quite the same, but it's pretty close. I don't want to go down to 1 pixel wide for each one of these. I won't have any pixels to do any kind of like detailing them at all. Right, let's make the material changes. I'm going to have to quickly look this up because I don't remember how I did this. I think I had like the light bulb, I think had the fix of it. So yeah, you have to put in a transparent shader and then mix between the transparent shader and the emission shader using the alpha of the texture as a mix factor. Okay. So add a shader. There you go, transparent. And then add a mix. There it is. Alpha to there. And I think I have to swap them over a bit as well. I think I have to do that. Just in case it wasn't confusing enough. And then I have to go into the material in here and there we go. Well, that doesn't look great. It's kind of like that doesn't look great because it's kind of when you've got like the shadow kind of behind it, it's kind of a very similar color. It might be a bit more bold when there's kind of like a top and a bottom on it though. So I can see they've differently detailed the inside and the outside, but I'm largely going to ignore that. Oh, I've just thought, so I don't currently have backface culling in this engine, and this might be a case where I want it. And the reason I'm going to want it here is that I'm actually going to want this side lit differently to this side. You think about it, this side should be lit up and this side should be dark. I can always add backface culling, I just haven't yet. So I'm going to light this up so we're looking at it from this side. Man, that looks terrible. Oh, that looks awful. Let's try and fix it. So I reckon it comes up to about there, the kind of like bottom piece. And so roughly block it in. Not going to do the top yet. The top is going to be like a separate kind of cap that sits on top. But it's going to get slightly darker at the top because it's going to have the shadow of the cap. And slightly darker at the bottom because you tend to have that kind of like occlusion effect, but not as dark as the top because it's not a direct shadow really. Oh, it's upside down. Isn't that good? There we go. No, it's not. And then let's do some of the kind of like lighting and detailing. Use the tile mode thing to kind of like get to wrap nicely. Okay. Probably want to darken that. Kind of like that. Yeah, that'll do. And then grab this, go into shading mode. Grunge it up a little bit. Do the same with this. That looks absolutely shocking. Oh no. And I think I'm going to try and hint at this kind of like coving they've got. So it's going to be kind of like a light patch along here. How's that look? Still looks kind of bad. I think I need more shadow along the bottom of the uprights. That does not look very good at all. Oh no. Man, that looks so bad. Let's try putting the cap on it and see if it looks any better. It might do. I don't think it's going to, but it might do. Transparent stuff has always been a bit of a mystery to me. I like it like how people like model and texture say like trees in old games. I'm like, how do you make that look good? Well, not even just old games, new games. Like, how do they make that look good? Okay, let's go slightly thinner than that. This is meant to be kind of a rail. Okay, so what we're gonna do next? I'm gonna do like a texture for the top of this. Maybe it should be thick. It should be thicker than that. There we go. Again, that looks absolutely shocking. Maybe I do need a bit of kind of like body on the top of these uprights. Let's give that a try. Does kind of hold a bit more volume like that, but I don't know. I don't know. I'll stick with it for now and see how I feel about it later on. So regards to the actual pillars, there should be kind of like a bit of a highlight here as they're kind of like thicker. We can't really make them thicker, we don't have enough pixels, but we can kind of hint at a slight highlight. It still doesn't look great. I might try really darkening this kind of like carpet here and just see if that kind of really makes it pop a bit more. Because I want this to be clearly visible. It's kind of like a gameplay element, right? It shouldn't be kind of like falling into the background too easily. I'm having that thing again where I can't quite select the vertices along the edge because they're technically shared with that. Why won't you paint? Paint! Oh, I guess it already has painted as much as it can. And then let's go for kind of like a bluish color here, just to kind of like try and kind of like soften the blow of this like really sudden brightness change a bit. Yeah, and I guess it kind of like continues along here. That looks a bit better, but it doesn't look great. Maybe it's a bit more variant, so like the shading of the handrail itself. Just the whole thing being a bit flat, it kind of looks a bit weird. Like a bit of a sort of gradient from this end to this end. Doesn't quite make sense, but we'll have a look at it. I think that helps a bit. I think the main thing is, right, just considering where you're going to be seeing this from. Mostly you're going to be on the ground looking up, right? And if I just kind of replicate this sort of across this way a bit, it might look a bit weird when you're kind of looking down like this, but I think that might actually be fine because you're not really going to be looking at it from that angle. You know what? It actually looks okay from that angle, which is the angle we're going to be viewing it from, and we're going to have a slightly different variation of it from the back face. So that might actually be fine. That might actually be fine. Okay, let's next up to sort out the top because that's not quite up to our standards around here. It's not unwrapped for a start. Right, how many pixels wide should this be? Let's have a look. I'm gonna go with 4 just as like a, complete guess. Just put a nice pattern in there that's like really obvious if it's distorted. Checkerboards are really good for this. Okay, let's see if this adding material thing works, because it didn't seem to work last time. Yeah, it worked this time. It's weird. Oh, hey, I got it right first time. I wasn't expecting that. So one of the things is, again, we can use vertex paint to a degree to put lighting on this because, we can kind of like put the one side a bit light, the other side a bit dark. But for things like this kind of like sort of coving we're sort of hinting at, we don't really have enough pixels to kind of like make it kind of like neutrally lit. So I'm just going to flip the texture if we ever have to use it in a situation where it's lit or it's lit differently. Did I swap these two colors around by accident? I think I did. Yeah, I did. It's weird. I thought I would have noticed that. We have a light color. We're going to have a slightly darker color because it's kind of in the... No, hang on. It needs to be a lot darker because it's going to be in the shadow. And then kind of like a mid-tone along the flat edges either side. Starting to get too many textures in here. And I just need to flip it. And that looks kind of terrible. Again, I guess because like it's a rail, it's meant to be kind of shiny. It should probably have a bit more kind of like light variance over its kind of like length. Are we painting here? It's kind of hard to tell. Why isn't this painting? Wait, maybe I have to... Oh, it's right. It's actually upside down. That's why it's not... Yeah, but if I enable backface culling, I wouldn't be able to see it right now. So that looks a bit better with a bit of a gradient on it. Let's just add a little bit of... Not too much, just add a little bit of grunge to it just to kind of, you know... Well, mostly so I'm not wasting the pixels, I guess. Yeah, there we go. That's good. Okay. So what we're going to work on next. I'm still not entirely decided on what I'm going to do with the with sort of like this area, because like, well, I've got an idea for this. I'm going to have like a ramp down here and back up here. This staircase, I'm not quite sure about. I might just because I was going to make it like a partially collapsed version of the Spencer Mansion, after the events of RE1. And I guess there could be kind of like, you know, a collapsed staircase and like a ramp there instead, just so it's kind of, just from a gameplay perspective, it kind of works. I guess I need to do this front door. There it is. This is going to be relatively complex because you've got this slightly sort of unique texture here for the kind of like side pieces. And then you've got like a, sort of like a, oh, what's that called? Oh, I've heard the term for this before. Maybe. I hadn't really decided what to do with around the back of there because it is largely based more off RE1 PS1 than it is Remake 1. Just trying to find the right background that kind of houses that. And I don't think you could go down there in the original. Man, I don't know why I keep using GIMP as like the sort of like image viewing tool, because it's actually kind of hard to navigate images in GIMP. Have I just lost it? It's just no longer in my file history. Well, anyway, yeah, it's just a blank wall under there, and it basically exists so that when you're kind of like, well, as far as I can tell, the reason that that section exists is so that when you kind of like return from the side hall with Barry, you have to walk under there before it considers the room explored, and I think that's the only reason that sort of like alcove exists. But I could probably put something under there. Oh, I'll tell you what I could put under there. You know, like in a Tony Hawk game, they tend to have like objectives, you know, like find the secret tape, break the crates, whatever. I could put one under there. That'd probably be a good spot for it. So I think first of all, I'm going to do this kind of side texture. Yeah, we're actually thinking about doing Find Virus because it's actually quite a little difficult to find a word that has 5 unique characters and is Resident Evil kind of related. I mean, there's things like, you know, you could put like, say, Chris or Chris Redfield, but like, no, that's feeling. But things like Virus. There was another one we had that was like a bit more memey, but like, I don't remember what it was. So I'm going to open the, do I have the wallpaper texture? It should be around here somewhere. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? I think going off the deep end is where we're going. I am tempted to put, because I don't know how much work it's actually going to be to add a character to this, because obviously it's not really a working game yet. But I do want to put in a lot of characters. Well, if you're bored, I don't think this is going to help. Okay. Now this looks like it's like 2 meters wide, so I'm actually going to tile this a bit. Yeah, it might be that because the game engine's animation system is going to be really, really crude and simple. So it's not going to have like easily reusable animations, and I think that might be a sign that maybe I should add like full skeletal or something like that, so I can reuse animations between characters. Because until I do that, it's going to end up being basically like a bespoke model per animation frame per character, which would just never scale. All right, I'm just gonna do this on a new layer so that I'm not like deleting my wallpaper texture underneath. Walls, arched wallpaper. And I'm going to use that symmetry tool that I always say I'm going to use and never do. There we go. And it's maybe parabolic, I don't know. So this is a sprite. This is basically kind of like a dedicated kind of like sprite editor. I've also got just GIMP, just reviewing images, and Blender for kind of like actually assembling the scene. Yeah, a sprite is pretty good. It has limitations because it's specifically a sprite editor, but it's generally really good. It's got some really good. I mean, it's got like sort of like versions of like the tools you'd have in something like Photoshop, but they're kind of like they're kind of tweaked for pixel art specifically, so things like blur, stuff like that. I mean, like Asprite's UI at least is very modern pixel art. I haven't actually really used Unreal enough, so it might be quite unrealish, but I wouldn't really know, unfortunately. So I'm going to grab a couple of tiles of this. Okay, that's going to be a wall underneath. I'm just going to light it up a bit so I can see what's going on. And then I guess so, yeah. One of the things is by default, because like it's done for kind of like pixel art style. There's actually kind of like a separate kind of like scaler kind of thing for it, and you can make the UI really small if you want to. But that's kind of hard to see. Okay, let's see how this looks in engine. Well, not, I keep saying in engine. This isn't in engine. It's just sort of in situ, I guess. And bring in a material. I think I might have accidentally overwritten the original, but I've got it in Git, so I can pull it back. Oh, as per usual, it's the wrong way up. That's usually how it goes around here. And then I'm just going to fix my vertex painting, which is currently making it look very uneven. Okay, next up, we need to like really kind of like paint some light into there. Grab all this. You're about to see what I think is one of the neater features of this program, which is the shading mode. So basically I've selected like a range of colors here, and then by kind of painting, it'll like move it up and down this range of colors. So I can kind of like do this and paint over it again, and again, and it'll kind of like move down this range of colors. It means I can just kind of like sort of, daub paint on it, and it'll kind of like appear in the right place. The answer is I've been using it for a long time. I don't know if I'd say it's easier now. It's more familiar if you use other applications now. It has a few concepts that are kind of weird and don't really exist in any other application I've used, but they're actually really nice tools as well. So next up, I need to kind of like paint a bit of shadow under here because there would naturally be a bit, and even at this kind of like low resolution, you can see a bit. Okay, grab some orange colors, and then Oh, I've just realized I had the symmetry tool on. That's why I normally turn it off. I keep forgetting I have it on. So grab some Tyrant colors. And why isn't this working? What have I done? Shading mode, this range. I have broken something here. What have I done? I'm going to say animation in Blender is something I think is really hard. I'm yet to use an application that made animation easy, but I always found Blender's animation, like it's the way you do keyframes, just kind of a bit weird and confusing. Like it's never really made any sense to me. But I see people do great things with it, so it must make sense to someone. Let's just add a little bit of shadow under here. One of the things, it has like, down the bottom here, it has kind of like, because it has like the timeline, and like, okay, fair enough, that makes sense. But then it's also got a graph editor, which sort of makes sense. But it's also got a dope sheet. I don't know what one of those is, and an action editor. And every time I have to use these, I get confused. I end up with like 50 different copies of the same action, and I don't really know what the difference between them all is. I'm sure like people who actually use it, they make sense to them. Yeah, I'm sure each of those different modes has a purpose, but I couldn't tell you what any of them are. Why isn't this painting? This is weird. Oh, wait, I know why it's not painting. I'm on the wrong layer. I'd say it's too early, but I got up late. Okay, so shade a bit under here. Yeah, I just didn't, I didn't see it, sorry. Thanks for pointing that out. I'm glad you're paying more attention than I am. I need a few more shades in this because this is not going anywhere dark enough. Now I've done something really stupid. I've put half of the colours in one part of the palette and half of them in another. I mean, I can't use that shading tool. And Aseprite has something that's not great, which is that if you move colours around, it doesn't edit the pixels to match. So I'm going to have to do this now, where I have to like replace each colour one by one. There is thankfully a tool to like do it, like to replace them at all, but it's oh, it also only works if you're on the right layer. Again, layers. I don't normally work with layers in Aseprite, and I always forget that I've got them enabled. It's called the symmetry tool, right? And I always end up like painting over things I didn't mean to and stuff like that. One of the things I'm actually saying to a file format that has no layer support, so all these layers are just going to disappear anyway when I've actually closed the app and reopened it. Okay. Okay, let's get on the right layer. There we go. That's looking more like it. And let's go for like a bigger kind of like, I'm going to do like a sort of like a more sort of gentle kind of like soft sort of darkening towards the top. And oh dear, I've done that a bit wrong. Let's try that again. That doesn't look great. I think I need to go to these colors a bit of adjustment. Maybe I need more of them actually, just so I can make it a bit more gentle. And then let's darken it a bit more. Oh, it's getting a bit too much. Okay, I need to kind of focus it now. Yeah, I definitely need more colors here. Or maybe just this one needs to be a bit darker. that. Let's have a look at it in context. Actually, that doesn't look terrible. Looks a bit weird. It looks a bit too grimy and dirty, but that doesn't look terrible. Let's try another one next to it and see how it looks. I guess that'll do. Let's get lighten up a little bit in the corners. A little bit of shadow just down the bottom, just to kind of like really kind of like make it look like there's a bit of kind of like occlusion from below. Okay, that's more like it. It's way grimier than like the original, but that'll do. So then we've got like this big sort of wooden piece up top. I'm not really kind of making the final geometry here. I'm just kind of like trying to figure out. Yeah, I'm trying to get all like the pieces built that I can then use to. Because I'm gonna have to do like play testing and try and figure out exactly how big everything should be. But having kind of like it all visible should help a lot. Uh-oh, I'm starting to mix all my textures up. Okay, so let's do a few tiles of those. And that looks a bit weird, but I think with a bit of extra like vertex painting, that might look pretty good. So let's just get a bit bluey and dark in the corner. And then basically all the way to black along here. How's that look? Yeah, that looks all right. It has like crunchy PlayStation 1. Whenever something doesn't look great, I can just go, it's PlayStation 1, it's meant to look like that. Let's move that a bit more, actually. Okay, so next up we need these kind of like sort of side bits here. I did it again, rotated the canvas. I always do that. I never mean to do it. Let me see. I'm just going to have a quick flick through the folder in the window and see if there's a better view on the door. I don't think there is. I don't think you get that much closer to it in the game. It'd be kind of nice if these images were sorted in some way, but they're not. They're just in whatever order they're on the disc. You kind of appreciate just how many backgrounds there are in this game when you actually see them all in a big list. No, there's no better views on it in the game. Okay, fair enough. So we've already got a door texture we can use. So let's piece around here. Again, we're going to go for the roughly 1 by 1 meter grid. So it looks like it might be like some stained glass or something in there. So I guess we can kind of make it whatever we want in there. Yeah, it's roughly half the size of that. So yeah, we're going to stick to the 1 by 1 meter grid. So we'll start off with the trim piece again. And I guess I could put that into doors. And we've got 16 pixels a meter, so that's good. Just going to size this back up so it fits our normal, roughly 8 shades. Cut the middle out, is that about right? It's about right, it'll do. Copy this over. Add new material. Again, it didn't work. So basically, I've got a script that is meant to be doing like all the material setup and stuff. Cause it's kind of a bit of a faff to get them to look exactly like the engine is going to recreate them. So I've got a script that imports the imports a texture, yeah, does the right filtering and that kind of thing. And it's meant to add it to the selected object, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And I haven't figured out any kind of real pattern to it yet. At some point, I will notice, oh, it's not working when I do this, or it is working when I do this, but I haven't spotted it yet. So I need to kind of green and kind of like a yellowish kind of orangish kind of color. We're going to tile this on Y. And I'm just going to select the middle part of it so I can't overwrite the edges. Or I can make a new layer, put it underneath there. And I have no idea what it's meant to be in here, so I'm going to be just drawing some random shapes. Hopefully not drawing anything too cursed in the process. Usually when you just, I'm just going to draw a random shape, so you end up like drawing like phallic stuff everywhere or something like that. Okay, that's two of our colors. And maybe do like a kind of like a whitish neutral sort of colors, filling up the gaps. And then that looks kind of weird. I'm going to draw a bunch of like dark lines over this, so it should make it look more kind of abstract here. Because at the moment it looks like a Subway. It looks like you've just ordered a Subway and this is what they've wrapped it in. That's not the goal. But I'm just going to draw like a bunch of kind of like the leading kind of over the top of it, and that should break it up a bit more. My apologies. Unless wanting a sandwich is a good thing, I don't know. It is nearly lunch. Okay. Let's have a look at how it looks in context. You know what? It doesn't actually look the worst thing ever, which is actually kind of surprising to me. I'm actually shocked by how not terrible that looks. I'm going to do like some more shading on it, but that actually, in context, doesn't look absolutely terrible. That's shocking. So let's do kind of like a darker version of this. Just kind of like, particularly like shade along the edges, it's kind of like a bit of like occlusion from the kind of frame, but then also, well, maybe we could do like another shade in between those. Use that replace tool. And then kind of almost kind of like it's going to be called like a glossy sort of thing, I imagine, right? And I think I missed a couple of pixels there and some there. All right, and next I'm going to do like similar thing with these. I'm just going to make like darker versions of these. Oops. And I think when we combine that with the vertex light in the scene, it might actually look okay. Because I've done these as kind of like horizontal, very vertical kind of like color swatches rather than, the more normal sort of horizontal. The keyboard shortcuts for like moving back and forwards of color aren't going to work for me. Oh well. Be a pain there to kind of reorganize them to be into horizontal lines. I didn't think I was going to be using more than one shade, but here we are. Might also add a bit of kind of like Windows Vista, kind of like sort of shine to these, just make them pop a bit more. So if I add a bit of shadow underneath here, Like some semi-shadow underneath there. And it's the same for the yellow. I'm seeing a lot of places I've missed leading, so we have to go back in and put those back in a minute. How's that look in context? It actually looks vaguely like what it's supposed to, which is surprising. Okay, let's do a bit more vertex paint on that to see if we can really kind of like bring it a bit more in it. Just turn off the face slip mode. Where is it? Where's the... There it is. Let's darken it a bit more down here. Oh, that's maybe a bit too dark. And then lighten it up. Just a touch. I said lighten it up, not darken it, but that works, I guess. And then yeah, that actually doesn't look awful. I'm actually happy with that. I'm shocked. Just gonna check for any like missing kind of like bits of leading because I thought I saw some earlier, but now I'm looking again. They're not popping out. Oh well. Oh yeah, I never actually did the shadow on these kind of whitish bits. Let's do that now. And I'm actually going to saturate them a bit more so it's a bit more obvious they're separate from the leading. Yeah, that looks okay. That looks okay. The edge strips I'm going to do a bit of work on as well, just because I want them to kind of look like they're actually sticking out a bit. So, I think I'll darken them on the outer and lighten them on the inner, so it's kind of like it's kind of got like a curve to it. It's almost kind of like a cylinder sticking out the wall with like a section cut out of it. Ah, layers strike again. That's the same side. How does that look in context? There we go. There we go. So we already have a door texture. We're gonna have this kind of like thing over the top of it, which I'm not really sure. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be kind of like a face or something. And it's not just gonna see two dots there. Yeah, it almost kind of like one of those things that kind of like have like a relief of like a head and then some like patterns around it. There's gonna be 3 of those. How wide do they make the doors? We can count the tiles below. They are 4 wide. So yeah, I guess I'll do 4 repeats of that. Yeah, that's probably about right. And we have like a corner piece, and then this is going to be difficult to get right, but we can do it. Sorry, just checking something. Okay. Let's try and get the corner piece done. That'll be probably the last thing to do today. And this doesn't tile, so we can turn off tiling mode. And it's got kind of like a lip along the bottom. And I'm also going to put one along the top, just so we've got like a bit of sort of separation between this and I'm going to be using that like flat wood texture for all of this. And then circles are always difficult to do with like pixel art software. So I do wonder back in the day what devs were actually using to make textures back in the day, because I know they probably used like a lot of photos you know, even back with Doom, they were using like scanners and stuff to take photos of real objects. I think they used Deluxe Paint, but I'm curious to know like what someone making kind of like a, say, I don't know, like say Tony Hawk would have been using at the time. I mean, I think Photoshop existed, but I don't think it was anywhere near as kind of anywhere near as popular as it is now. And I think it was a Mac application for a long time, right? I think it was a Mac exclusive, and I think the first version of it didn't even edit pictures. I think it just, if my memory is correct, I think it was just an image viewer. Could be wrong on that though. Maybe it came with like a few basic tools, almost kind of like a smartphone, yeah. Camera app has basic like cropping and stuff built in. Let's get the rough curve right, and let's get it kind of in the scene so we can kind of see what we're dealing with. Because I can see there's like some kind of intricate pattern we're probably going to have to try and replicate. And then I can kind of like shade around it later once that pattern's kind of in the right place. This time it worked. This time it put the material in the sidebar. I've got no idea what the correlation is between it working and not working. I have absolutely no idea at all. So this should actually be further down. So I'm actually going to replace that with that and get rid of that piece I just made. Actually, it should be further down than that, but I think the doors I have, the doors I have are slightly taller. Because it's meant to be kind of like, you know, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater set in the Resident Evil mansion, and that means I have to scale everything up, you know, to kind of like accommodate the gameplay. So doors are bigger, gaps between walls are bigger, that kind of thing. But that means if you're kind of like trying to replicate details, like nearly one-to-one, you end up with things, some things end up being bigger, some things end up being the same size. I just have to kind of like case by case figure it out as I go. Okay, let's just come up with anything really for this pattern at the minute. It's not really any kind of like rotational symmetry tools, because rotation is not exactly a thing in pixel art. I'm going to guess this is meant to kind of have like a, kind of like this here. It's almost kind of like a fan, right? I'm going to guess it's meant to have kind of like a fan pattern on it, but those don't really map well to pixels. So I'm just going to have to basically put down whatever and then kind of work it into shape. So that's actually not that far off, except I think this side of it's a bit wrong. I think I actually got really close on kind of like a first sort of just stab in the dark. Yeah, I think that's nearly it. I think maybe just curve these two in slightly. And maybe push that bit out slightly. Maybe bring it back in. Get rid of that. Down there. It's one of those things where it's probably not a perfect arrangement. It looks exactly like what I'm after, but like there's going to be something that's close. I think when they actually had these completely straight, they actually look pretty good. Maybe we can do something like that. Yeah, I think that's about as good as we're going to get it. So next up, let's do a little bit of shading. One thing about the shading tool is I can now basically just, you know, even though it's all in one layer, I can basically just select the wood, the kind of wood, and it'll only affect the wood. So I can just basically like paint it here a bit, and here, just grunge it up a little bit, and it won't affect anything else. And then when I want to go over with the kind of the backing, I can just paint the backing. It doesn't really affect the wood at all. Now I am going to tweak the colors on that a bit, so I'm not too sure those are right. That said, I think a lot of this kind of like yellowish tint is coming from the, I think it's coming from the lighting in the room. So again, it might look different in context. that doesn't look bad, but I'm going to get a bit more shadow under here, just because like there's quite a lot of shadow on the or maybe not that much actually. There's a lot of shadow kind of like on the kind of like the sort of like the wood detail, and it's kind of weird that like kind of the backing plate is like really bright around it. It looks like one's luminous, right? Because it's not casting a shadow, so it's not sticking in front of it. It's not the same brightness, so it's not kind of like painted on. It kind of looks like one of them is glowing in the dark for some reason. No, that's too dark. Maybe we need a bit more contrast than that. Let's lighten this up a bit. It's one of these things where it's going to look terrible and all of a sudden it's going to click. Maybe I do kind of like go for like a less kind of raised look, you know, maybe I go for kind of like something a bit more... Oh, I've accidentally painted this corner. I didn't mean to do that. Oh no. So shading mode, and let's just fix that. No, wait, that wasn't an accident. I intentionally did that. Oh no. My marbles are draining out of my ears. Yeah, let's try and be a bit more delicate here. I think this is like small and detailed enough that we can't really just use the big brushes. Okay, how's that look? Okay, we've got like a single like really dark pixel there. Let's try and fix that. And this bit under here needs to be a touch darker, and then it should all be good. That will do. That will do. Anyway, that's gonna do it for today. Got quite a lot of small things done today. Yeah, fix the terrible carpet texture from last time. Bit of a half decent handrail. Got about halfway around the door surrounds. So pick this up next Saturday, and then tomorrow we're back on Silent Hill 3. Have a great Sunday.